Did Mike Fleck do it, or did somebody else do it?
It was done before council, and Mike Fleck worked on it. He did, but here's what happened at the last minute. No, Mike had documented the PLA, the bulletproof PLA came from our district council in Philly.
Okay.
And as it was presented,
Okay.
and nobody knew it.
So after.
Kind of snuck in until way afterwards.
Well.
And I realized what happened. Because I kept asking Kevin for this agent. And sure. So now I had a copy of it sitting there.
Okay.
Why aren't you running?
All the language in there was stuff that we wanted in there.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Well, I told him, I said, listen, the brother, I said, so,
Just trying to this click share to work.
Well, I pushed the button.
yeah, yeah.
Oh, I had
No, you're absolutely right. You're
Program
absolutely right.
doesn't want
Guess
to
what?
run.
Geez, I don't even know who my business agent is anymore.
For who? For what?
Do you mind if I reboot this?
Oh,
No.
yeah. I forgot his name.
Everything's on here.
I might have it.
Okay.
I have to.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, Kevin Lott, right?
I was president. Kevin Lott's retired.
Yeah, but he was after you.
Kevin Lott was the business agent.
After you.
I was president of local law. He was business agent.
Okay.
And
Why is it always cold in
then
here?
after because I retired my last 2 years, I was retired, but I was still acting as president. And then when we had the new elections, my vice president won. And less than a year in, these guys from the international came in, took charge of them, and had left. And there was no more local 600 anymore. And we got put to district count at Curiel lost his job, which I thought could never happen.
Right.
And then we got put to the New York district council, New York and New Jersey. And I met that guy. He was the best guy. He only lasted about a year or two.
So,
And then
hold on 1 second. I'll catch you. I know. She said her resolution. I talked to her about it. She said she went to send it to you for like approval before.
Oh, yeah, that's.
She sent it to you?
No, that's just said that we were only doing local issues.
Yeah, I know. I didn't know she sent it.
Do you want me to go
it's just so
download it again?
the way they keep redistricting.
It's on your flash drive. Should be fine.
Oh, she's definitely bringing it up.
Yeah. He'll be videoing.
I'm well.
Joel, how you doing, sir?
Why?
Listen. There shouldn't be. We're going to need a wartime consigliere here. So you're going to have to knock this out. We need a wartime consigliere.
And I'm going to rely on you. I'll be leaning on you.
I hope I have the answers that you need. I'm not the brightest guy in the world either.
I've been out since 3 in the morning plowing. I got 3 hours left.
Yeah, you know.
I got 3 hours. When I release, I got
some buttons on there.
Yeah, could you?
Yes.
Press this one.
11 years of doing it.
What's up?
I'm not sure, but I think the fire department responded to your old house.
I saw that. I drove by it before. Is that where they were?
Well, yeah, we're standing out in the road right there. I don't know if it's your old house or
They were right in front, 'cause I saw the pumpkin park out front. And I actually thought about it, I'm like, I hope nothing happens to it.
You ain't sick, are you?
If you ever have a question on that.
Mayor, switch seats. Switch seats with me. He got something. Switch with Crystal. You got something.
I can't get rid of the ball, man.
I'm sure she will.
Not yet.
Jimmy. How are you, Jimmy?
Mr. Brown. I didn't recognize you.
Player.
Well,
You look different than the last time I saw you.
What it is? What it is? I got rid of that.
My granddaughter had it for a week.
Cough.
And a little red pepper. Really, oh, that snow's heavy.
It is heavy. I was home. I went home to do it and shower and change.
Oh, man.
That was heavy.
I was,
No, it's heavy.
and where they plow out in the road,
Oh, yeah.
that is even heavier. Look at that.
My back is sore.
I'm keeping him up.
Get your ass in the car. 6 o'clock.
I have 3 sons in
What happened? What'd you-
My grandson did say that he wanted to be said. I could.
I'd like to call the stated session of City Council to order. Please rise for the invocation, followed by a pledge of flag. Heavenly Father, we come to you today asking for your guidance, wisdom, and support as we begin this meeting. Help us engage in meaningful discussion, allow us to grow closer as a group, and nurture the bonds of our community. We ask that you give the ability to reach the goals we set in our State of the City address this year. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Mr. Brown?
Here.
Mr. Ettinger?
Here.
Mr. Pinnabone?
Here.
Mrs. Rose? Here. Dr. Ruggles?
Here.
Mrs. Sultana? Here. And Mayor Panto?
Here. At this time, we go to the approval of the agenda.
Would approve.
Move to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
And there's second, Pinnabone. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Mr. Ettinger?
Aye.
Mr. Pinnabone?
Aye.
Mrs. Rose? Aye. Dr. Ruggles?
Aye.
Mrs. Sultana? Aye. Mayor Panto?
Aye.
And Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Action on our minutes of their January 24th meeting.
Move to approve.
Motion,
Second.
second. Any additions, deletions, or corrections? Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Mr. Pinnabone?
Aye.
Mrs. Rose? Aye. Dr. Ruggles?
Aye.
Mrs. Sultana? Aye. Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mr. Ettinger?
Aye.
Mayor Panto?
Aye. At this time is the Mayor's State of the City address. Unfortunately, we're having some technical problems, but the address is still the address without the PowerPoint.
Oh.
Oh, it is up. Okay. Unfortunately. The city's focus on an innovative future is in large part to our city manager, and I want to commend Mr. Luis Campos and our dedicated members of our cabinet. You've done an incredible job this year, and everything I say in this report that you will get a binded report. The director's reports are also in the back of my address, which is in the front. But I want to thank them because without them, we have a good team, and there's no doubt about it. I look forward to working with all of you in the next 4 years to develop ways to make our city even more innovative, progressive, attractive, and efficient. President Lyndon Johnson said it best when he said, "When the burdens of the presidency seem very heavy, I remind myself it could be worse. I could be a mayor." Well, Mr. President, that was in 2008 when the national gangs like the Bloods, the Crips, and the Latin Kings, they were all here in Easton doing their violence and their business. But today, in 2024, Mr. President, it's an incredible time to be mayor of my hometown. Oh, there are plenty of challenges, don't get me wrong, but our neighborhoods are coming back, our downtown is thriving, and we have more pedestrian traffic than most cities. Violence and crime are down, families are moving back to our neighborhood, businesses are growing, and for the first time in 5 decades, our tax base is expanding, and our population is increasing. We've been recognized by national polls, and last year we received the Lehigh Valley's Planning Commission's Community of Distinction Award, and our public market and farmers market received national recognition as #1 high in their category. And of course, this year Lafayette College was selected as the host of the vice presidential debate, which will bring international acclaim to both the college and the city. We placed the pandemic in the rearview mirror finally, and we reshaped our downtown from the retail mecca of the past to the visitor destination of today. We all share the excitement, the electric atmosphere around our city right now, and the infinite possibilities that lie ahead. We are on the right track, and there is light at the end of the tunnel, and for the first time in 50 years, it's not an oncoming train. We have so much to be proud of, but this success was not guaranteed. When we came into office 16 years ago, our economy was in a free fall. Our businesses were leaving for the suburbs again. Our streets were empty. Crime was up. Confidence was down. And today, suburban businesses are moving back downtown. I just have to point to Amon's restaurant and how well they're doing. And the family tells me doing better here than they were doing out on Route 248. Fast forward 16 years, our strategy has worked. We have supported our law enforcement officers in every way possible to achieve a safer city. Make no bones about it and make no mistake. I am a crime and time person. You do the crime, you do the time. And we will do that. We will respect everyone's right to have their debates and their protests, and we've done that in the past. I think we've done it very well without infractions, without violence, and it was very peaceful. To that end, this year we will take delivery of our own Bearcat to keep our officers and our residents safe. Our officers are out there every day, and we want them to go home every night. The officers are trained in 14 different categories. All of them are in your book, from de-escalation to how to handle suicide by cop. The fire department is truly an all-hazards department because they respond to more than just fires. As a matter of fact, last year we only had 57 building fires, which is really good. Most of them occurred on Memorial Day at Ferry Street. But last year they responded to 2,016 calls for service. So that's a lot more than 57. The two largest fires were the warehouse fire in the borough of West Easton, where we responded on a mutual aid, and the Ferry Street fire on Memorial Day, which was devastating, was tragic, but it did bring the community together in many ways. Of the total, there were 27 building fires with an average response time of 2 minutes and 4 seconds. I can only tell you that my time on the Fire Civil Service Board, that's even better than it was 20 years ago. The building fires with an average response time allow them to not spread, and we protected property, not just lives. The department also conducts prevention programs in the 3 elementary schools, the IU-20, the Easton Arts Academy, and Head Start, as well as the fire extinguisher training, which I think, and I want to get this out, if you know of any business that wants their employees trained in how to handle a fire extinguisher. My summer campers go through it every year. They put out a fire up at the central station. The department also ordered 2 new pieces of equipment this year, approved by City Council: a new pumper, which should be delivered in April, and a new ladder truck, which is due sometime in 2025. Those cost more than $3.2 million. In your State of the City capital budget tonight, you will see that the fire station is looking for improvements. We are looking to deliver on expanding and upgrading all of the facilities in the 3 departments that we have. We have 3 new firefighters that graduate from the academy. We have 6 that will graduate in June from the academy, bringing our department to being fully staffed. It's really important for me to share with the public that the progress we have achieved to date is largely thanks to the leadership team that, to quote Governor Shapiro, GSD, gets stuff done. I cleaned it up. I cleaned it up. Our partnership with Senator Boscola and State Senator Representative Bob Freeman and the Shapiro team has been paramount to our success in getting state grants for everything from large development projects to grants to install bike lanes on Northampton Street. To date, our administration has completed and been awarded more than $100 million in grants. Our federal and state partners and our county partners are a huge part of that equation. If I give anybody advice about local government, is local government is not just local. You need to be involved in the state and federal level because that's where your money comes from and that's where your grants come from. Right now we're next year in 2025 we'll be in competition nationally for the Choice Neighborhoods grant. We all know what the Hope 6 grant did for the South Side. Choice Neighborhoods has the right to do the exact same thing for the West Ward. So we're looking forward to that. There's no way we can afford $70 million out of our budget. That's an entire year's, almost an entire year's fully funded budget from the city. Public safety, but also means public trust. Our police officers will be held to the highest possible standards, and we have a proven track record of that. The city experienced an uptick in Part 1 crimes, but not in our violent crimes. Don't ask me why the federal government puts theft in Part 1 crimes with like rape and murder. And I don't know why they do that, but we got to look at the Part 1 crimes. Even though we just ticked up a little bit, it was mostly thefts of catalytic converters. People stealing the catalytic converters. We all know that rash of thefts that occurred when people found out that their catalytic converter was stolen, mainly for the special metals that were inside. The violent crimes and homicides remained the same. Rape was down by 1, simple assault decreased by more than 40%, and arson decreased by 1, as well as auto theft decreased by 6. We don't have the violent auto thefts that we have in the cities where they carjack. We're very fortunate. I mean, our city is safe. It's a lot safer than it was 16 years ago, but it's a lot safer than it was just even last year. The Easton Fire Police Department also made a major commitment to victims of crimes. The department hired our first civilian victims advocate, and I want to thank City Council for supporting that civilian position in the police department. She is not only working out well for the victims of crime, she's also helping the homeless and the mentally ill. And I could tell you that many, I would say better than 60% of our homeless have mentally illness. And usually we have a problem with them when they can't afford their meds or there's some reason why they go off the meds. The department also removes our illegal graffiti. They're out there. They expanded the citywide surveillance cameras. Yes, it's 1984, and we are watching you. And if you're not doing anything wrong, there's no problem. But if you're doing something wrong, we have surveillance cameras that will record it. We can use it in our evidence backup. We do not have people sitting here watching the cameras. We also have the $350,000 grant from the federal government to purchase the region's first LiDAR evidence collection equipment. I thank Dr. Ruggles for that. It was very important. And we are going and moving into hybrid vehicles. We have 3 ordered electric hybrid vehicles to not only save on our gasoline use, but also to reduce our carbon footprint to meet our climate action goals, which you will hear more about in a few minutes. The department also purchased 2 electric bikes that we got a grant for. Because, you know, Easton, like Rome, was founded on 7 hills. So for us to be riding around on bikes, it's kind of hard to go up Southside Hill or College Avenue or even up Northampton Street. Believe me, there's a Northampton Street. Not only go over to Crescent 6th Street, but I also know from 7th to 15th, it's nothing but a hill. It's a great incline. So we have those bikes that we've added, but I also want to show, I saw in my experience when there was an issue over on Grant Street where a gentleman had barricaded himself in his room and was firing out the window on the 800 block of Grant Street. We use our drones, and those drones save lives. Those drones were able to, we flew him in there and saw that the man was in the bed. He was bedridden, so our police were able to go in. Unfortunately, he had passed before that they got there. But to assist in residential transparency, we also started to utilize a software called Crime Watch. If you don't have it on your phone, get it. The software also allows residents to offer an anonymous tip if they see something going on. Unfortunately, at this moment of time in our country, many of us are still worried about the rise of hate crimes. and the rising tide of anti-Semitism and Islamophobia. We must put a stop to the white supremacy that is ruining our nation, become the nation where all are treated equal again. Hate has no place in Easton. Our police officers are committed to protecting every community. But I want to be clear, while we will always respect the right to peaceful protest, those who violate the law will be held accountable. And I think that's probably one of the things that makes us different than some of our other cities across the country. We are we work very hard and very closely with people to make sure they're on the straight and narrow. But if they go astray, we try to help them first, and the victim's advocate is one of them. But if not, they will spend time in prison. Public safety is also about safer streets for pedestrians, cyclists, and drivers. We cannot have bikes and electric mopeds speeding down our streets and trails and sidewalks, forcing people to jump out of the way. We are committing to keeping the peace in every sense of the word. Who knows, maybe in my last term, we'll even get radar approved for local government. I don't know why state has not allowed it to happen, but I've been fighting for and lobbying for radar for a long time, and it's the only sure way that we will stop people from speeding up and down our city streets. I remember when I was in office in the 80s, I had a friend, a person I knew from high school, it was a year or two behind me. She called me yelling and screaming because the police had taken her license away. And I said, well, what's the problem? She says, well, I was speeding. I said, where? She says, on the 900 block of Washington Street. She was speeding past Easton Area Community Center, which at the time was known as St. Anthony's Youth Center, where she worked. She grew up right on the corner of 7th and Ferry. And she was speeding at 82 miles an hour on a city street where kids and a school are located. And I'm all for alternate forms of energy and reducing our carbon footprint, as you'll see. But in the next 60 days, my administration will be proposing to City Council an ordinance amendment to keep Eastonia safe from the dangers of lithium-ion batteries. New York City is leading the way, and the commissioner of the fire department, she has done a great job in getting Mayor Adams to sign an ordinance, a local law, which doesn't allow the sale of any e-bikes or e-scooters that are not certified by an underwriting lab, whether it's UL or somebody else. The problem we're having is they have a very hot burn. And the video I saw convinced me that we should be forcing people not to, making it prohibitive to have those. You get your scooter, you bring it inside your apartment, you put it in inside your doorway. Well, that doorway is your way out, and it blows up and starts everything on fire. You can't escape. So we will educate riders and enforce safety standards on lithium-ion batteries, like not keeping their e-bikes in the house. The ordinance will also prohibit the storage of e-vehicles indoors. We have an electric vehicle in our police department. We no longer keep it inside. We used to keep it in the Sallyport. Now we keep it outside. The financial situation is arguably the biggest challenge facing our city and our community. It's everywhere. And no matter how well we do, you'll see from the two-year operating budget for next year, there's another $1.3 million deficit next year that I call it a gap, because it's a gap that has to be closed between now and then. It's a big gap, but it's a gap of $1 million. It's been $1 million every year I've been in office. But I rarely have more confidence in the financial strength of our city than I have today. We entered the office in debt, and we'll leave the office with millions in reserve accounts. The priorities of our community has guided us through the challenge of the past 3 years, thanks to the decisions that you and I have made as members of council. But that doesn't mean we're without our challenges. We have to figure out a way to keep our revenues up, but keep our property taxes down. Property taxes are the worst thing for a senior citizen on a fixed income. When I took office, I promised our residents a City Hall focus on restoring our finances and making our city clean and safe. All indications are that we are accomplishing our goals. Preliminary results reflect that general revenues will again exceed expenditures. We've had a surplus every year, and that's great to have a surplus. But that surplus before was being used to fund the next year. Our surpluses, as you know, go into the reserve account, and it's there for the rainy day. Our general operating reserve account is higher than what City Council has put our target at. We continue to experience the positive impacts from our debt restructuring we did during the pandemic when interest rates were at historic lows. Our increasing population, our expansion of our tax base has all been witnessed and seen by Standard & Poor's, and they have put us up to an A stable rather than a negative. Our building permits are up by $203,000. Our parking meter income is up by $127,000 due to increase in people coming back to our downtown. Our population continues to grow, as does our earned income tax, was up $1.8 million. Our casino revenue is up by $112,000, as well as our real estate transfer tax. Although there may be fewer homes to transfer, the rates, the sale prices are so much higher. The biggest indicator that we have in managing our money is our Standard & Poor's independent bond rating, which went from an A negative to an A stable, and noted the positive shift that we restructured our debt in 2020 with rates at historic lows, and cited solid economic growth in the city and strong city financial management. Our other promise 16 years ago was clean and safe city. I'm immensely proud of our police officers who have delivered on this promise. The reality is crime is down, way down. I'd rather not talk about it, what it was like 16 years ago, because it wasn't a good time to be mayor. On the clean side, I want to thank Lafayette College for fully funding the first year of the Easton Ambassadors and the GDP for partnering with the city in the establishment of this important program and expanding it now into the West Ward. Our next goal is to the South Side. Now in its 16th year, it has not only been successful, but well received by residents and visitors. Unlike many other cities, we are also seeing a decrease in violent crime. Crime is up across the country. Every mayor I talk to, even across the Commonwealth, every mayor I talk to talks about crime and violence being their number one. Not affordable housing. For us, we're very fortunate it's affordable housing. In 2023, the city experienced an overall increase in crime of 3.3%, going from 1,291 incidents to 1,334 incidents. UCR Part 1 crimes increased by 6.6%, driven primarily by the increase in catalytic converters and regular theft. UCR Part 2 crime decreased by $1.97 million, and due mainly by increases in fraud and vandalism. Otherwise, it would have gone down even lower. In addition, total calls for service increased by 9%. In 2023, the Easton Police Department continued further education and training of its officers. Every sworn officer receives the following, and I would ask you to look at the list of 14 from active shooter, whether it's phases or prevention, ethics, law and enforcement, cultural awareness and diversity, anti-harassment in the workplace, anti-harassment for law enforcement, cultural awareness and diversity, crime scene processing, patrol tactics, suicide by cop, crisis response, excited delirium signs and prevention and preparation. Our public works department has also been extremely busy. Much of what the public sees is done by the public works department, but much of what they do is not seen because it's underground. We've paved more streets than we've ever paved before, and we have more underground piping that has been replaced or relined. Another major visual project was the upgraded improvements. By the way, did you know we did a 4th Street garage? In case you didn't know that, that was the joke of the city was how long it took to do the garage, and we're still not out of court on that one. We still have a way to go, and Mr. Shears here, he can discuss that later in executive session. But another major visible project is the Center Square project, and the Center Square project, although it took longer than we thought to get it done, we now get a lot of compliments. I mean, we have festivals. People really enjoy what is done. And our stormwater reclamation and filtration biofilters that are there, which some people thought were going to be fountains, they are doing a good job of cleaning up the rainwater before it gets into our tributaries. It's also nice that they pay homage to the Declaration of Independence. I, as a historian, I believe that the nicest thing about the Center Square is the Declaration of Independence around the corner, the 80 by 80 foot perimeter that used to be the county courthouse. We also completed the conversion of the ring road to two-way traffic. You're going to do two-way traffic? There'd be all those head-on collisions. We didn't have one accident. not one accident, and it has become a major way to get around town when there's events. The department continues to work on our climate action plan and our MS4 stormwater implementation plan. The new decorative lights on Northampton Street will continue into westward till we reach 15th Street. And the wastewater treatment plant has a new $3 million administration building, and it was constructed. And right now we're planning on using the methane gas to generate electricity, and that's in the design stage right now. Spreading over 2 years, there are two major street projects that started in 24, will end in 25, and that's Cattell Street in partnership with the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania and Lafayette College and Wood Avenue. I just want to say something about Wood Avenue because I get beat up by one individual on Facebook. Wood Avenue is really, I wish, it's the same as the Ring Road. People, we've taken away an awkward two-way stop and made Pearl Street and 7th Street and Prospect Street a T intersection. We used to stop on Prospect, then you had to go to Pearl and stop again, and it's going to be much better. Spreading over 2 years where those two projects will be done. The Wood Avenue is a Commonwealth of Pennsylvania PennDOT project as well. And we didn't stop there. More than 200 street trees were again planted, adding to our 4,800 that have already been planted by this administration. We were again named a Tree City USA by the Arbor Foundation for the 20th year in a row. Then to give our youth better facilities and our adults, because we have adults that play on the hardball field, we've completed the 50,000 reconstruction of the Hackett Park hardball infield, and every park in this city has either been upgraded or plans to be upgraded this year. Development interest in our city remains high, driven by our optimal location, high quality amenities, quality of life, and our diverse employment opportunities. Everyone is talking about the $1 billion in development, so let's talk about that. The Department of Community and Economic Development received $2.1 million in private, county, and state and federal grants to assist our developers. They work with sub-grantees to submit more than $13 million in new RCAP applications to support the Marquee, Watermark, Valley Health Partners, and the former Easton Iron and Metal properties, which will be environmentally cleaned with a $1 million ISRP grant from the federal government to clean this brownfield site. It will then become housing as part of the VM development group, and part of it will become added to the Carl Center Arts Trail. They also closed on $4.5 million in CARES grants that were awarded by the Northampton County, and you remember that was during the COVID pandemic. The DCD department also raised more than $67,000 in sponsorships for Winterfest, which increased in not only in attendance but in vendor participation. Our attendance over the 5 weekends was more than 57,000 people attended Winterfest. 5 weekends, that's over 10,000 people a weekend. Our goal to assist the whole town, not just the downtown, was awarded, and so we submitted an application for the Federal Home Program's Blueprint Communities program, and we submitted it for Southside, and I can say it tonight, that we have been awarded that grant. So we'll be working with our federal partners at the Federal Home Loan Bank to develop a blueprint to help Southside. My wife and I go out to eat quite a bit because what'd you call them, dinks? Yeah. Dual income, no kids. Okay, I'm a dink. I used to wear, when I was a freshman so long ago that we had to wear dinks when we were freshmen in college. But we go, and the Westward has a lot of really good places to eat. Southside doesn't have any. And I noticed last night going home that what I call the hilltop, because it was my uncle's place, at the top of the hill, they were there cleaning it up. So maybe somebody's going to go in there and take it over. We were also selected by the National League of Cities Capstone Challenge Series to partner with General Motors Future Roads to increase pedestrian safety. So every one of our intersections that are really bad, like 3rd and Larry Holmes Drive, will be looked upon as what we can do to make it better, and General Motors will have grants available to us as well. And I met with the people in January in Washington who are from General Motors Future Roads program. We incorporated the Home Easton for the purpose of increasing affordable housing and we're waiting for approval for its tax exemption so we can start our projects. One of the projects that will start first is the old Porter School playground that is macadam, not the green. The green space will keep green, but there is a macadam where the playground used to be, and that is slated to be affordable housing project, probably 4 townhouses. The city continued progress in development activity in 2023. 13 projects of $1 million or more were in the planning stage or under construction. The largest projects exceed $70 million. And that, of course, is what we call our bookends, the Marquee and the Confluence. The Confluence was at Planning Commission last night for approval, and there's some minor tweaks again that the Planning Commission wanted to see, that 185 committee saw and made a couple tweaks with them. So we expect construction of the Confluence to begin probably sometimes late summer. Upon completion, these projects will result in more than $280 million in investment, more than 1,500 residential or hotel units, and an additional 600 jobs created in our community. I must take time to thank all of our city employees. They do a great job, as we had seen this morning. Councilman Ruggles and I had breakfast, and we had no trouble getting around the city at all. Matter of fact, we find that Tuesdays is not a good day to have breakfast in the city. We ended up in Palmer Township because there was nothing open on Tuesdays. A lot of jobs, we see the Marquee going like crazy. What you see going under construction now is the precast concrete, which is the parking deck portion of that project. I must take time to thank all of our city employees, though, for Winterfest as well, not just the great job that they do all year round. But you got to remember that Winterfest was our response for the retailers to get through the pandemic. And we were able to do that. But there's a very short window. We do not cover the Veterans Memorial Monument, which is really a Civil War monument. It's only the Civil War, before Veterans Day. So they have from November 12th to November 20th, basically, to get everything done. And the Winterfest has grown into a great holiday tradition, and we get support in just 2 short weeks after Veterans Day to transform our downtown into the Winter Village, build an ice skating rink, erect the peace candle, and move all vendor huts into place and provide the electricity that's needed. I want to publicly thank them and the United States Iron Workers Union that puts the candle up and takes it down for us every year. We will soon have a new hotel to welcome visitors from around the country. When I say around the country, I really should be saying around the world, because yesterday I met with the Alpha Phi Omega fraternity, and it was really started in the Philippines. But the first chapter here in the United States was 100 years ago, December 16th, I think, 1925. 2025 will be the 100th anniversary. It was started at Lafayette College. It was really ironic. I was at a conference in Atlanta, and these 3 guys came up to me and started talking to me. Aren't you the mayor of Easton? I said, yeah. They said, we go to Lafayette. Oh, good. We're APO. We're part of APO. And he says, we started there. I didn't know that. So we are meeting with them. They are planning a camping jamboree, a parade, a big celebration for a year-long event that will bring people from, it started in the Philippines. They have a Filipino group coming sometime in October of 2025. Our robust economic development program, however, also increases the workload for the Planning and Codes Department. The only dip we experienced was in the buyer notification inspections due to the lack of housing inventory, which for this year is showing signs of getting back to normal. I haven't seen it yet, but they're supposedly getting back to normal. I mean, right now, if you look in Easton, there's probably less than 10 houses for sale. The department received and processed 1,370 construction permits for an increase of 4.2% over 2022. This activity also required 6,404 construction inspections in 2023. We owe it to our children and our grandchildren to make Easton a place where everybody wants to live, work, and raise a family, and ultimately the difference for generations to come. I ask that you join me in keeping Easton's momentum growing. We must do our best today, but we can never forget that what we do today is about tomorrow. As I reflect on the past 16 years and prepare for my last 4, I cannot help but be amazed how far we've come as a city. We have rebuilt it in ways that most could not have imagined, and it's exciting to see how it's come. From then until now, we were able to show our region and today, Easton is a city by which others measure success. We have people police departments come down our police station all the time looking to copy what we did. We're looking right now to building our the methane gas recovery system at the wastewater plant. I was very impressed with what I saw down there compared to when I was in the 80s when I was here, and we were fined like $3 million because we were not meeting our effluent discharge standards. But we're getting ready to build our evidence building, and for our police station, for our police department, we have a piece of property that the city owns where we'll probably decide to build it. But we'll be bringing you those later at a later date. We have continually grown our population, businesses, and offerings while maintaining our small city charm by creating a clean and safe community that fosters investment in our economy. We have investors from all over the region coming to Easton every day looking for investment opportunities. There aren't many left. We were the first to have a downtown gift card, the first to have a trolley, the first to have a public market, and the first to have an ice skating rink. Others are now copying us. The greatest form of flattery. Change and development are constants in any city, and Easton is no different. We will always promote change that helps us today, but at the same time, we are mindful that we always want to maintain our walkable, small city charm with beautiful architecture and a great quality of life. So our goals for the next 4 years include, first, ensuring quality and stable housing for all, the most difficult national dilemma that we encounter. Everybody is encountering the exact same thing. Everybody has the, that's my phone, huh? Everybody has the same problem. Affordable housing today is out of sight. It's just out of sight. And not just housing, but rental rates. Getting more people to housing they need is one of the biggest national challenges we face going forward. It's no secret that this region is facing a massive housing crisis. Increasing sale prices and rising rental rates are keeping our children from owning and renting in the Lehigh Valley in communities where they grew up. I was involved in a project in Forks Township that the township supervisors came to my boss and wanted him to build a housing project, not low income, but low sale prices so that the kids that grew up in Forks Township could live in Forks Township. And they were being chased out by the rising rates. And that was back in 1997. So we were 1998. And we're facing the same thing today. History and heritage, as a person who used to teach local history in Easton schools, has always been an important part of me and the city. This year we will start planning for a major milestone in our history, the 250th anniversary of our nation. I want to remind you that it was Easton that was the site of the third reading of the Public Declaration. It was Easton that gave us people that really knew George Washington well and fought with him. It was Easton that hosted the Marquis de Lafayette, which now we have the residents of Easton founded that college and named it after him. It was Easton that really played a major role in winning over the Treaty of 1758 that got the Native Americans to support the British rather than the French. Otherwise, we'd all be saying oui instead of hello. We will highlight that important history that we have, the colonial history, and you'll see something that is really important to me, and I probably should have mentioned it, but I will. 18th century buildings in downtown are few and far between. Most of them were torn down. We all know about the Bachman House. We know about the Nicholas House. We know about the George Taylor House. The Hooper House at the corner of 5th and Northampton, we're trying real hard right now to gain access and control of. Every other building that was built in the 18th century is under some type of control, either by the Daughters of the American Revolution, such as Georgetown. The city owns the Nicholas House at 5th and Ferry. We have a number of the Bachman houses owned by the county and the city, and the Siegel Museum. There's a triumvirate there. But the Hooper House is still, it lays there blighted, and I'd like to do something in my goals in the next 3 years to put it under public control of some sort. And we're working with that right now. We met with the people at the Rock Church several times now. Also, there's no doubt that its time has come, but we need a skate park. and we need a community center in the West Ward. And my goal is to raise the money, a lot of money, $6 million types of money, to build a community center in the West Ward and a skate park. Sometime in March, we'll have a meeting of skateboarders who will come and meet with Clayton and Jesse Clayton. He owns Design skate parks, and they'll bring in some of their professionals, and we'll talk about what it should include. And we've located it down along the Lehigh Drive, down by where the Greater Easton Development Partnership, in concert with the city, owns, where the Crayola buses park. We'll build a 10,000 square foot skate park there, and it's out of the neighborhood. It's a perfect location. Kids from all over the city can walk there and get there. They get there a lot easier than going home. Whether they live on College Hill or South Side or Westward, they got to go up a hill, but they will get there. It'll be lighted for nighttime activities, but it'll be closed at dusk, just like all of our other parks. It's meant to be open dawn to dusk. But we built a community center in the West Ward that also has a senior center. I'm not sure you know, but the city used to have 2 senior centers. Today we have 0. Our seniors have no place to go and socialize and meet each other in a face-to-face and play cards and darts and pool and get a good lunch. They have no place to go. So we want to work with the county and build a community center that can also serve during the day as a senior center and a community center. With a full-size gym. We're working with the people out at Easton Area Community Center to help them, and they will help us program it. Our recreation department will program it. And maybe we'll even have a boxing gym in here. Definitely have a wrestling gym. The P word. I'll bring it up because it's a goal. You will be receiving a parking ordinance upgrade and a rewrite in the next few months. We all live in, Mick Cornett said, we all live in a city that we didn't build. If we were going to build a city like you have out west, you have places for parking. We don't. We have no place for parking. We don't have streets wide enough to park every street diagonally. But we are challenged to meet the demand. The demand for parking is there. And it's fortunate. I was out to breakfast a couple weeks ago, and guy yelled over, he says, "Man, Mayor," he says, "I rode around downtown, I couldn't find a place to park." I looked at him, I said, "Yeah, isn't it great?" He looked at me like I had 3 heads. I said, we're busy. I remember when there was, and Joe Moranville, I hate to use her name, but she told me right out, she said, I remember when there was plenty of places to park and there were nobody downtown. She said, I couldn't pay my bills. Now I can pay my bills. He says, we have people in here all the time. I've convened that parking summit. We met internally, and now we're going to meet with residents and businesses in downtown, and we're going to come up with a comprehensive parking strategy to make it better, not perfect. We will continue to search for as much OPM as possible, other people's money. We cannot do it on our own. So we need to be with Governor Shapiro. We need to be with State Representative Freeman. We need to be with Senator Buscola to get as much money as we can from those good, and the county, as with Tina Johnson or with Lamont McClure, and get as much money as we can. I will build, in the next 4 years, I'd like to build 150 affordable housing units. That's not a lot, but it's a lot for us. Considering we only have about 8,000 units in the city, that's a substantial amount. We will also develop a revitalization for the south side, like I said, building with blueprints. We're very, very excited that we got Value Health Partners. I can't show you a picture. But the Dollar General Plus store is doing well over there. And the lower level will be taken over completely by Valley Health Partners. And Valley Health Partners, in addition to having primary care, which is really important, we don't have primary care on the south side, we'll also have eye and dental. So we're really excited about it. While downtown has seen massive growth, we are keenly focused on creating that type of neighborhood that I was privileged to grow up as a child. There's no reason why a child growing up in Easton today should not have the benefits that we had 50 years ago. And I want to discuss a subject I think some think is a bunch of bunk, and that's their they can think it's bunk all they want, but it's changing, and that's climate. Climate change is definitely here, and it's something that we go through every 1,000 years in this planet. I mean, the Delaware River was created by the Ice Age. I mean, but the fact of the matter is our green gas emissions is hastening it. And a greener city is looking ahead 50 to 100 years. The decisions we make today will not be really known for 50 years. So it's not just about sustainability, it's about quality of life. As the former chairman of the National League of Cities Environmental Committee, I heard the debate on both sides. I heard people speak in favor of it, and I heard people say it's a bunch of bunk. And my point is, you prepare for the biggest emergency and hope for none. And so what? If we spend a lot of time getting alternative energy and doing things like planting trees to make it a little cooler in the summertime for people that don't have air conditioning, so what if we were wrong? We still have a better planet, and I think that's what's really important. My vision for Easton is a city of safe, healthy, and connected neighborhoods with an expansive culture of equity, empowering upward mobility and full participation for all residents, embracing youth engagement and innovative, dependable government moving Easton forward. Pride is back. I wish I could show you the photo that I have of the Easton Red Rover football team coming out of their field house with the Easton flag. You wouldn't have seen the Easton flag carried by the Easton Area High School Red Rover Marching Band or the football players 15 years ago. Today they carry the Easton flag, and it's very exciting to see that the pride is back. 15 years ago, when you say where you're from, they'd say, "Oh, I live about 50 miles north of Philly." Now today, then they said, "Well, I'm from the Lehigh Valley." Now they say they're from Easton. So we're very excited about that. Pride is back, and 16 years ago, it wasn't, and we're back now. So to sum up the state of the city of Easton very succinctly, we are the little city that could and did. Thank you.
Good job, man. What? Oh.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Good job, Mayor. It's already done. Did it? Right there. Like, I rolled over. Yeah.
At this time, we're at public comment from anybody in the public that would like to come up and on agenda items only, right? On agenda items only? Seeing none, we'll move on, Madam Clerk, to consent agenda.
We have bill number 1, amending chapter 285, parking garage fees. Bill number 2, an ordinance amending the 2023 health funds. A resolution approving FEMA assistance to the firefighters grant for $221,729.15. The city of Easton would match 10%. Resolution approving encroachment agreement at 233 Northampton Street into North Sickreeve Street. A resolution approving proposal from In Situ Form to reline the sanitary sewer on Canal Street, $245,940. Resolution approving the extension of Pocket Parks grant to December 31st, 2024. A resolution approving the extension of the Two Rivers Trailway Trail Grant to December 31st, 2024. Resolution approval for agreement for PennDOT to use the Pennsylvania Crash Information Tool. A resolution amending the 2024 Administration Benefits Package. A resolution authorizing the Department of Community and Economic Development to apply for a PennDOT Green Light Go program. And a resolution approving purchase and financing of new police servers.
Have a motion?
Motion.
Motion and Pinnabone, second by Sultana. Roll call, please. Oh, I'm sorry.
Just real quick, on bill number 1, there's a double listing of the changes. Okay, so we have this, section 285-42, and then on the next page, we have the same thing, but that second page is the one where April was left out.
Oh,
So I think we need to eliminate that second
The second page? Is
second
the-
line. Second attachment.
reference, yeah.
Okay.
Okay,
I can
just
do that.
just take that out of
Okay.
there.
I just thought I'd leave it in there so you
Yeah.
can see. Okay. All right.
Mayor, was on the consent agenda, weren't there several items that were skipped over that I didn't?
No,
Yeah,
they
but-
were,
went right through them.
They were moved.
they were
down
moved
to
into new business.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay,
Yeah.
I did come in a little bit late. All right.
No, they were moved before the meeting.
Okay.
I moved them because I wanted clarity. I was gonna move them anyway, so I just moved them from the agenda.
No, I stepped into the meeting a little bit late. You said it's already- Okay, I apologize.
Okay, we have a motion and a second, so roll call.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mr. Eddinger?
Aye.
Mayor Panto?
Aye.
Mr. Pinnabone?
Aye.
Mrs. Rose? Aye. Dr. Ruggles?
Aye.
Mrs. Sultana?
Aye.
Reports received by council. I'll accept the report of the fire department for the January 2020 firm. We'll move into reports of committees, finance committee, Vice Mayor Brown.
Thank you, Mayor. I have nothing this evening unless Mrs. Sinecki has something. I know that we will be having a meeting in the next couple of weeks in reference to the updates.
Okay, Economic Development Committee, Mr. Pinnabone.
Yes. Mayor, I've been meeting with DCD and Public Works to identify the extension of the Pocket Parks grant. We're applying to have it extended till the end of December, and we're looking at a couple parks in the West Ward. We have a architect that's putting some drawings together, and we'll review that, and we'll go from there. Also, the city of Easton has been selected as one of only 11 communities across the country to participate in the Federal Reserve Bank of Philadelphia's 4th Reinventing Our Communities cohort program. The Easton cohort, comprised of representatives from the city, 3rd Street Alliance for Women and Children, Safe Harbor of Easton, Project of Easton, Greater Easton Development Partnership, the Housing Authority of Easton, and the Redevelopment Authority of Easton, is developing a multi-year plan with the help of Neighbor Works America to expand economic opportunities for local renters, residents of color, and individuals currently unhoused. For more information regarding this program, it will be released in a forthcoming press release from the city. Finally, the department worked with Easton Main Street to support the Love Easton program with projections on the Alpha Building, City Hall, and Santander Building. These projections will be up every evening through at least the end of this week. That's all.
Very good report, thank you. Planning and Codes Committee, Mrs. Rose.
Thank you, Mayor. I attended the February 6th Planning Commission meeting. I also attended last night's Historical District Commission meeting where an informal presentation of the Confluence Project was presented by Perone and City Center. After receiving feedback from the commission and the attendees at last night's meeting, I know the developers are planning to go back, and they had mentioned that they hope to present the final plan at next month's Historical District Commission meeting, which will be held on Monday, March 11th. So anyone who's interested should attend that meeting. And lastly, I also attended on February 9th presentation from Groundwork USA on, it was a brownfields webinar, unearthing the potential of brownfields, which was very informal. And that's all I have.
Thank you, very good report. Public Works Committee, I'm sorry, Public Safety Committee, Dr. Ruggles?
Thank you. The Public Safety Subcommittee met prior to this meeting, and we discussed various topics of safety in the city. I think that we'll be working in the future to have different agencies and groups come in and talk about what's available. I thank Mr. Campos for kind of putting those things together. So, but I'm really excited about this because there's many things that we can do as a community to make our residents safer, and I think it's not a heavy lift to do it. And so I think this is something that we really need to pay attention to. So we're moving on that, and we will continue to meet.
Dr.
That's
Ruggles,
all I have.
If I may, too,
Yeah.
just to add to that, since I'm the staff supporting this ad hoc committee called the Safety Committee, couple things. At the next committee meeting, we are going to have the police department come in, and represented by Kristen Cooper, the victims advocate, as you know. So she's going to come in and give an overview of the department. Also, to mark on your calendars, because at each committee meeting, we're going to try to have an agency presentation as we're gathering information on the resources in the community, as Dr. Ruggles had mentioned. But also on March 27th, that's a city council meeting, we will have Lehigh Valley Health Partners come in and give an overview of their project over on South Side. But it still overlaps into what we're doing, what Dr. Ruggles is doing in this committee, as well as Crystal and Ken. So I just wanted to make sure we put those dates on here. There's going to be more dates that are to come, but we'll fill them in for council as we get them.
But at our next committee meeting, we will have our victims advocate
Yes, we will.
here to.
Yes.
Okay, Public Works Committee, Councilman Ettinger?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have no report. I do, however, have 4 bills that I'm going to be introducing regarding the change of direction in the configuration at Wood Avenue and Church Street. There's also a couple of definition language changes. That's all.
Thank you. Councilmember Sultana, the Administration Committee?
Yes, Mayor, I just introduced a resolution which is just passed, is administration benefit package, where I requested to amend parental leave from 4 weeks to 6 weeks, and agreement leave from 4 days to 5 days. And I have 3 other resolutions introduced, E, F, and G. Resolution approving city clerk job description and approving assistant city clerk job description, including resolution amending 2024 salary and wage city clerk and assistant city clerks. That's all I have.
Report of City Solicitor, Mr. Shear?
Just briefly, and this is all inspired by the mayor's historical journey in your State of the City address. I'd just like the members of council know that this is also the 150th anniversary of the Northampton County Bar Association, which is, of course, based in the city of Easton. We're the 3rd judicial district, which is Northampton County. When this county started, we took up Lehigh County. I mean, it's
Monroe,
it's amazing.
Carbon.
Yeah, this represented a good chunk of the Commonwealth, and I just think it's something to note that we will be throughout the year. In the leadership of president of our Bar Association, my assistant city solicitor, Jeremy Clark, who's president this year.
Oh, good.
Yep.
Thank you. I have no other report on legal relevant issues.
Okay. Report of the mayor, I just want to commend the Public Works Department for the snow removal this morning. As I said, I had no trouble. I was out and about at 7:30 and had no problem getting around. I would like to just announce that if anybody from City Council would like to attend, that Senator Casey's having a panel discussion in Easton on Thursday about greedflation, and I will be the moderator, and that's at 10:30 at the Boys and Girls Club on South Side. He'll be there from 10:30 to approximately 11:15. Also want to, Louis and I attended the Shapiro press conference up at, what's the name of that company?
No, they produce the
The
medical
insulin,
testing.
yeah, the
medical
testing.
Or Shore.
Orshore.
Their warehouse facility in Bethlehem Township.
Yeah, and he announced he gave out a number of shout outs to the people that were in attendance, and he spoke very highly of the Lehigh Valley and what we need in our and how we're doing. I also want to mention that Dave Hopkins is here. If you have any questions, we will be upgrading the Centennial Playground and Vanderveer Park this summer, and we expect to put a splash pad of some type in the West Ward, and we're looking forward to that. And
It's more of a water feature, Mayor.
water feature, okay.
Yeah.
Not a splash. Well, it's a splash pad, but it's a water feature
Yeah.
to keep the kids cool during the hot winter, summer months. Louis, your report. Any other questions? Louis, your report.
Okay. Just a couple items here, 2 items. I am going to have Mr. Lesnicki pass these out, if you don't mind. Two items, as I had mentioned. The first is what we call internally is a 2-year budget. So it's a forecasted budget, and I'm going to talk about that shortly. And then the second item is a capital improvement plan. These are this is the summary that I'm submitting to you. There's no formal action that's needed by council, but this has been a practice, not only because it's dictated in the charter, but it's been a practice that we've been adhering to at least as long as I've been here. And as the mayor had mentioned or alluded to in his presentation, Standard & Poor's sees this as a positive positive management that we put together this forecasted budget, and at least have a little bit more transparency in our capital improvement plan. So let me talk about the highlights on the 2-year budget. First of all, the 2-year budget does predict about a $1.3 million deficit, and I am going to go through some of those assumptions. There's a long way to go between now and the end of the year. I do want to tell you, in looking back to 2020, if you take COVID out of the picture, we've always forecasted a negative budget. In some years it's been lower, some years it's been higher. It's been high as 2.4, and it's been low as being 0. It's been flat. So I just want to make sure you understand that. The second item that I want, as I go through this, that I want to point out is that we're still experiencing the hangover effect, if you will, from ARPA. So as I go through here, you'll notice that now ARPA funds will be depleted from supporting the general fund, and that's a major factor if you look at the revenues under the revenue line item. Another larger item that's in the 101 category, that is earned income tax. So we were fairly conservative here. We were at 2%, although historically we've seen 3 to 4%. During the COVID years, if you will, and afterwards, it's the 2-3 year period. We've seen EIT balloon to 10%, but 10 to 12%. But this is a new normal, if you will. We don't know exactly where it's going to fall. And to that end, my last comment on this 2-year budget is the baseline is we're using the 24 budget. Typically, what we do in terms of a baseline is we'll use a combination of actuals, and then we'll build it. We'll build it from scratch. In this case, meaning like a zero-based budgeting. But in this particular case, because of the time constraints, and we just want to do like a general look into the future, Mark and I get together and we work the model to see what kind of stress it could take. So part of that stress is assumptions on low growth rates, taking ARPA out, full employment. So those are the kinds of things that we look at. Any questions before I move on to expenses? We do have, if you'd like, you can email myself or Mark. We can give you the full budget in detail. This just gives a high-level overview. On the expense side, we wrote down some of the larger expenses that are going to that we're going to be experiencing. Again, one large item to note is that what's not in here are the increases for police and fire. We're currently in the final year of the collective bargaining agreement, so we're negotiating those increases. So we've estimated those at 0. So in other words, that could increase the pressure on this deficit when you're looking at it. The second item that I think is significant that it's worth mentioning too, on HR legal expenses, there's an assumption here that indicates a high legal expense, and that's due to potentially going to Act 111 arbitration. I do want to tell you that the negotiations, at least I've received a letter to start the negotiations from the FOP. But if, for whatever reason, we come to a stalemate, this would then move along to the next step, which would be which would be arbitration. So I just want to mention those two notes in here. Other than that, healthcare expenses, while we've been fairly flat, we do expect to see an uptick next year. And I don't think that's something that we can get out of per se. But if you notice on this sheet, we have, there's two parts to health insurance. One is the admin, and the other one is claims. We are self-insured, but we use a broker to help us administer the contract. This summer, I will tell you that it seems as if the administration is going to be recommending that we put the brokerage agreement out for RFP. We will allow the incumbent to also bid on the RFP. But I just wanted to let you know that we will be looking at our contracts closely, potentially, and we may have a series of RFPs coming out. And that's just best practice. It's something that you have to occasionally, that's in my book, every 5 years or so, look at to put out an RFP to the vendor. Can certainly allow the incumbent to compete on it, and it's not that we want to get rid of the incumbent, but we want to make sure that we're sharpening our pencils, so to speak, as we're looking at the numbers here. On the, I'm going to jump now to the capital improvement plan. This summary provides a little bit more detail than the summary I just gave you for the 2-year budget. That gives you the total balances by fund. If you look at column 24, when I look at the capital improvement plan, column 24 marries with the budget that you all have approved. Okay, the subsequent columns, 25, 26, 27, and 28, we do carry over the expenses, but those obviously have not been approved by City Council, so they're subject to change. Again, we're forecasting here, so I want to make note of that, especially to the newer council members, and as a reminder to those council members who have been through this already. A couple highlights that I do want to note here. First of all, is the second column I want to note is the source column, and under the source column, what that is are the funding source, where the funding is coming from. So please take a note of that as you're looking through this. I want to jump down to what the category is called property maintenance, and it's probably a category that we should change here, because those are one-time, again, capital type of improvements. But the second to last item under that category are fire station upgrades. So if you go over and you look at 25, 26, and 27, we have already started our due diligence in looking at what the fire stations need. So in particular, I just reviewed, and we will come to council when the time comes, South Side's improvements and what they needed. It really needs an overhaul, to say the least. There's a $3 million budget in there. I do want to tell you that in 2017, the city put in the RACP legislation a line item for the South Side fire station. So when you look at the source column, you'll notice that there's RACP in there as well as the revolving capital fund. It may not all come from the revolving capital fund. It may come all from the RACP. But I just want to give you an idea on how we're using the source column and then the column over to the right, 24, 25, and so on. There's a lot going on here. We may come back and do a specific committee meeting on this, but I just wanted to provide this overview to you all. Are there any questions right now? If not, then I've submitted this already to the clerk. If you could keep this, Karen, as a record, and then we could always come back and revisit this. Now, the charter does ask that the administration put the CIP budget in before the budget, but we haven't necessarily done that in June. But it's you're putting the cart before the horse because the budget hasn't even been approved. So we've been submitting the CIP, capital improvement plan, after the budget has been approved, because then that way that first column 24 lines up with what's been approved by City Council. And that's all I have.
I have a question.
Sure.
Going back to expenses, what is fire OT down 8%? What does that mean?
Ms. Altin, are you which
Overtime.
page?
Expenses. Oh,
Um,
overtime. Okay.
Okay,
Thank you.
fire time, overtime expenses.
Got it. Thanks.
Yep. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you, Mr.
Oh, Mayor, I'm sorry.
Oh, you said that's fine, yeah.
An administrative item. I just wanted to let council know that Dwayne Tillman has been put in the acting director position for planning and codes. So he's going to be in that position for the next 3 months, and I'll follow up with council, most likely an executive session regarding performance and in the acting role status. Thank you.
There's no correspondence, no unfinished business. I'll move right into new business, Madam Clerk.
Okay, we have a bill amending language in chapter 475.13 titled definitions.
So introduced.
Question? Can I just ask a question on this? If I'm looking at this, we're changing the definition of a connection with a pipeline or pipelines from the building to the sewer main, where it used to be from the building to the curb.
Correct.
Okay. Why are we doing that? I'm just wondering.
Because frequently we find that, a developer buys, a structure, decides to rehab it, and then, they have to upgrade the sewer, and we find there's no connection in the street, that they're actually yoked into their neighbor. It was a common practice.
Oh, yeah,
way back.
yeah, right.
And I think they did it sometimes to avoid rock or whatever. So we find these tied together all the time. And then what happens is we then end up having to provide the sewer from the main to the curb, because they're only required by ordinance to supply from the structure to the curb.
Okay. So my follow-up question on that is, if you take a look at a different definition there, which is building lateral, it is from the sewer system to the curb. And I'm just wondering, I didn't go through the whole ordinance, but I'm wondering if there's some place in the ordinance where, because this is from the sewer line to the curb, it's being referenced as for the, I mean, it's going to go in conflict with the new definition of connection.
There's another paragraph in the ordinance that refers to the developer being responsible for the connection and to connect.
Okay.
And so when we looked it up, because we got challenged recently on it, and I think they're right. But it does happen pretty frequently that we find, and our sewer crew doesn't need any more work than they have already.
Yeah.
So if someone's developing the property, it would be a lot more beneficial for us to have, we don't mind going to inspect it, but to actually do the work is a real burden.
Yeah. So you don't think there's any conflict with building lateral definition and the new definition of connection?
I don't,
Okay.
I don't.
Any other questions? Okay.
Our next is amending language in chapter 515.16, refilling excavations.
So introduced.
Any questions? Can you give me an update, give us, I forgot to ask today at the staff meeting, an update on Washington Street UGI? I understand that they are definitely gonna go in and finish it up, but when?
For the restorations, so we have a moratorium on road work
I know.
between December 1st. In fact, oddly enough, that's what the change in the language is about, because we do get a lot of requests during the moratorium. If someone's furnace goes and it's oil, you know, we would just allow them to upgrade, but we want to do it in accordance with the ordinance. But in fact, we just met with the whole group. They're going to be starting on March 1st, and I think they're going to be doing mostly work on the hill to start, and then they'll probably get back into the restorations, because the trenches they've had enough settle time at this point.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Go ahead, Madam Clerk.
Sure. We have an ordinance approving a change in direction of Church Street to one-way between 7th and 8th Streets.
So introduced.
We have an ordinance approving change in direction of Wood Avenue to one-way between Northampton Street and 8th Street.
So introduced.
We have a resolution approving job description for the position of city clerk.
Move.
Second.
Moved in second, any discussion? Roll call.
Mrs. Sultana?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mr. Ettinger?
Aye.
Mayor Panto?
Aye.
Mr. Pinnabone? Mrs. Rose?
Aye.
Dr. Ruggles?
Aye.
We have a resolution approving a job description for the position of assistant city clerk.
Move.
Second.
Moved in second. Roll call. Any questions? Roll call.
Mrs. Sultana?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mr. Ettinger?
Aye.
Mayor Panto?
Aye.
Mr. Pinnabone? Mrs. Rose?
Aye.
And Dr. Ruggles?
Aye.
We have a resolution to the salary and wages for 2024 for the city clerk and assistant city clerk.
Move.
Is there a second? Second. And a second by Mr. Brown.
Ms. Pinmo.
Oh, Mr. Pinnabone, I'm sorry. Mr. Campos, could you explain to me the salary for the assistant city clerk? Oh, it's an annual? Okay. Do you think the ordinance should say that? It just says $1,500. I didn't know what it was. It's a stipend? Okay.
That's what it says.
But stipends could be
Anyway.
Monthly?
monthly or daily.
Our stipends are the same amount as our annual. So, but you're right, stipends could be,
I
For
was
a
just,
particular job, for example, yeah.
well, we could, whatever council likes, I mean, if it makes it easier.
well, I was just concerned because at one point it was, you know, if the city clerk is not here for a meeting and she takes the meeting at $1,500 a meeting, that's a lot of money. I was gonna make a motion to have if the person is just here for the meeting, or if they're doing the packet, it's different. Yeah, I would do it too.
So,
So that, what that entails is that, yeah,
Okay,
this is a
that's
backup.
fine.
Yeah, this is a backup. And then
Yeah, it's the bench.
responsibility to make sure they understand.
Got it.
everything.
No problem. Okay, roll call. Any other questions? Roll call.
Are you going to modify this? Because I think your suggestion was a good one. I mean, to make it clear, if you're talking about $1,500, essentially you're taking a current employee and you're giving them $1,500 to also be the assistant city clerk.
I'll move that as a motion.
I second it. We can say probably yearly stipend, right?
Per year.
Per year, yeah.
Ready?
Roll call.
Mr. Ettinger?
Aye.
Mayor Panto?
Aye.
Mr. Pinnabone? Mrs. Rose?
Aye.
Dr. Ruggles?
Aye.
Mrs. Sultana?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
At this point in our meeting, we're at public comment.
We gotta vote.
No, we
Oh,
gotta
we didn't
vote.
vote. Oh, the regular resolution. Roll call. We just did the amendment.
Oh, right, okay. Mayor Panto?
Aye.
Mr. Pinnabone?
Aye.
Mrs. Rose?
Aye.
Dr. Ruggles?
Aye.
Mrs. Sultana?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mr. Ettinger?
Aye. At this point, we're at public comment on any agenda item, or any item concerning the city of Easton.
I have a question, Mr. Campos. I received a complaint from a family on 230 West Madison Street that they're being evicted due to some kind of gas leakage problem. So can I have update on that? Like, can we do something different? Like, instead of evicting families from their homes, like with 3 little children, can we help them out with can we help them with gas leakage, or like, can we provide them some kind of loan or grant, or provide them at least housing? Because I don't know who have the answer.
Just mentioned. So I'm not, I'm unable to provide you an answer. And
I mean, that's the only option, like to just evict them.
this is the first time I'm hearing about this.
Okay.
If,
Well, it's a state Boca code. I mean, if you don't have heat, you can't be in your house.
That's state law.
That's state law, Boca code.
They have a gas leak?
They have some kind of, yes, gas leak problem, whatever. But my point is,
UTI gets all over that,
Yeah, I mean,
don't they? I mean,
you can't let somebody in there who's a gas leak.
they should be in there and fixing it right away.
right,
Yeah, it
but
sounds
I
like-
think their family is dire in need of help. Instead of evicting them, can we find another solution?
well, this, again, this is the first time I'm
Okay,
hearing
yeah,
about this.
I think I'll give you
I have no
some time
context
to.
whatsoever.
I got it.
Okay.
got it.
If you could give me a little bit more
I will,
information
yeah.
afterwards? Okay.
Absolutely. Thank you.
We got the same call.
Okay. I'm unaware, and I wasn't here last
30
week,
Spanish.
so I'm not sure. I was not in the office.
Okay. We can talk about this later.
Okay.
Okay, anyone like to address city council?
Please spell your name and your address, please.
Is it okay if I don't use my address due to the sensitive nature of what I'm going to be speaking on?
And what is your last name?
Swedberg, Swedberg, Drew.
Okay,
Okay, is that okay?
thank you.
Appreciate it.
That's up to the chair. I mean, that's been our policy. I mean, part to identify even the standing of the individual, you know.
Yeah, to address city council. I don't have a problem with it tonight. I mean,
Appreciate it.
you want to just tell us the city of Easton, our municipality?
Yeah, I'm in the Montgomery County. I teach at Lafayette College as a professor. Is that okay?
That should be enough, yeah.
Thank you.
We
I'm,
can give-
I'm representing a group as well.
Okay.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you for your time. My name is Drew Swedberg, and I teach at Lafayette College. I join you today as a representative of Lehigh Valley Artists for a Free Palestine, a group of over 100 artists and community members who are joining national and global calls for a ceasefire, as well as local calls for this council to immediately pass a ceasefire resolution.
May I interrupt you one
Because
second?
unlike our mayor,
I asked if anybody wanted to speak about a city of Easton issue,
you
concern,
said
or
other
comment.
agenda items as well.
Well, there's
correct?
not on the agenda.
Well, other
This is a
items that are
public
not on
comment
the agenda,
session.
right? This is public comment. Earlier, we had public comment for agenda items, correct, at the beginning of the meeting?
That's correct.
And then this is for anything that's not related.
Concerning the city of Easton.
It is, and that's why I'm going to spell out, if that's okay. Is that okay?
Sure.
Appreciate it. Okay, because, and this does have to do with your comments, Mayor Panto. We believe that a U.S.-backed genocide funded by our tax dollars right here in Easton is in our purview, that it does have a bearing and a place here, and that our struggles for liberation are deeply interconnected. Or, in your words earlier today, local government is not just local. We are reminded by the urgency of this cause through the horrific last 3 days of Israeli bombardment and massacres in Rafah, and we remind you that each day you refuse to address this costs lives. I will now read from the letter. We, the undersigned artists living and are working in the Lehigh Valley, are calling our elected officials, cultural organizations, social justice nonprofits, academic institutions, and artistic communities to join us in the urgent public call for an immediate and permanent ceasefire in Gaza. For many of us, language is the tool we use in our work, which we must use now to stand in solidarity with the Palestinian people and to condemn the US-backed genocide unfolding in occupied Palestine. We join Palestinian Youth Movement and Jewish Voice for Peace in their call for an immediate and permanent ceasefire, lifting the siege on Gaza, ending the occupation of Palestine, the freedom of Palestinian prisoners, and the end of Western complicity in Zionism. Collectively, we call for the end of over 75 years of settler colonialism, apartheid, military occupation, and forced displacement. As lovers of language, we are horrified by the rhetoric and actions of our elected officials. This begins with President Joe Biden, who proudly supports and finances the genocidal campaign of Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Locally, Governor Josh Shapiro rejects calls for a ceasefire and attempts to criminalize protesters in Philadelphia. Senator John Fetterman weaponizes anti-Semitism, publicly denies war crimes, and casually endorses Israel in front of arrested veterans calling for a ceasefire. And Congresswoman Susan Wild censures her Palestinian colleague, calls for increased military funding to Israel, and engages with Islamophobic posts online. Simultaneously, local mayors remain silent or actively prevent calls for a ceasefire. While these complicit actions occur throughout the United States, the Israeli military continues to commit mass atrocities against Palestinians, aggressively targeting hospitals and schools, murdering artists and their families, killing in unprecedented numbers of journalists, and destroying archives, grave sites, cultural centers, sacred religious sites, etc. Their complicity in this indefensible violence goes beyond their rhetoric. Our elected officials in the three major cities in the Lehigh Valley collectively allow an estimated $3,114,155 of their constituents' federal tax money to be sent annually to arm Israel. These funds should be used to care for their constituents who struggle with basic needs, which I appreciated how you brought that up today, such as affordable housing and food, two of the major points you brought up. It is fiscally irresponsible and immoral to fund a genocide and leave your constituents' needs unmet. This money should be utilized to support the health and safety of our local community rather than the destruction of humanity. The call for an immediate ceasefire is incumbent upon all of us. Therefore, we call upon Mayor Matthew Turk, Mayor Sal Panto, and Mayor J. William Reynolds, along with all of our city council members, to stand with their constituents and release public resolutions calling for a permanent ceasefire. We cannot allow silence to manufacture our community's consent in this genocide. Until they do so, we, the undersigned artists, will withhold our voting power in favor of any mayor and city council member who fails to support these resolutions. Come November, we will remember the names of those who prioritize their personal agenda and blatantly chose silence in exchange for the bloodshed of Palestinians. We unequivocally stand in solidarity with the Palestinian people. Until Palestine is free, until we all are free, this is where our focus is and will be. As a final personal note, I'm proud to be surrounded by so many people here tonight whose solidarity, conviction, and global vision of liberation is unwavering. If you do not listen to your colleagues who put forward ceasefire resolutions, I hope you listen to your constituents, who will continue to organize until Palestine is free. Thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
Anyone else like to address City Council?
Okay, one moment, please. May I have the spelling of your first and last name?
Yassine, Y-A-S-E-E-N.
I'm sorry, why?
A-S-E-E-N as in Nancy, first name. Last name, S-A-L-E-H.
Your address?
Lafayette College.
Thank you. Thank you. You have 5 minutes.
Hello, City Council. I have returned once again. So I came back today to say a couple of things that have been kind of regrets weighing on me that I didn't get to speak about last time. The past 2 times that I've been here, I've spoken about the issue on large and the humanitarian crises that has now been labeled the worst humanitarian crises in the world as per the UN. As the International Court of Justice has weighed in on the matter, calling this a genocide as well. As we see precedents set around the world that there is actually more to this situation than was first agreed upon by many people in power. And I'm grateful for that personally. But that's the point aside. Today I wanted to speak to you about the relevance directly to this community, because I know that that was an issue that was brought up previously, and while certainly, at least in my mind, it is already enough for me that we're taking action to stop a genocide that is killing so many people. But nonetheless, for a more direct cause, I am a Lafayette College student, which means I am directly part of this community. When this first broke out on October 7th, and certainly that's not this as in the genocide on the whole, but rather just this past wave in which we have seen much worse in violence. A couple of days after, there was a message that was sent out across all of social media saying, this Friday for us Muslims is a religious holiday. Every Friday we meet together and we celebrate and we pray together. It's a good time to meet community, right? Check in on everybody. But there was messages spreading around social media around that time saying that that Friday was going to be a Friday of jihad. That Hamas was telling all of these people, this is a jihad day, go do jihad, as if it was some type of voodoo magic that we were about to do. Me and all 5 of us Muslim students on campus, there were legitimately, people were scared of us, as if we were doing, as if we had something that we could do to them. Us 5 students out of 2,000 some. But now imagine on our end, on the receiving end of that side, when we're already such a small group of people, to also have that realization that we're already othered in our communities, and so many are turning against us. This is not just about Palestine. Certainly, strongly, it's about Palestine, but it's also about what it's done to the communities on the whole. As we see many turning against the Muslims around the world, people are getting killed just for being Muslim, not even for speaking about Palestine. Students wearing this same kufaya, 3 boys, 3 young men, college students just like me, killed, shot. My mom calls me the next day, don't wear anything religious, don't say anything about Islam, just be quiet. Take care of yourself. Now the reason why I'm standing before you today is because this is relevant. Calling for a ceasefire is not just a matter of saying, we're going to change the world. Certainly I don't expect that from you. It is certainly, as I've said previously, a huge step in making a difference, but the biggest thing for me is that calling for a ceasefire is validating that there are people on this that are also human. That every time that I try to speak out and say, hey, listen to what I have to say, because I'm not against anybody, I'm pro making sure that we're not slaughtering people, when the response was, why are you allowing these terrorists on campus, from the Lafayette parents group chat? And I have to walk around scared, and my friends are walking around scared. Just for being who they are, not even for speaking about Palestine. So this is a bigger issue. I'm not just talking to you about the world here. I'm asking you to reconsider, for the sake of the residents. You've spoken about the importance in your address just now about what the council can do for the higher government and how there's a connection between city and state. And that was beautiful, and I really appreciated that. And that goes back to the points that I made in previous discussions. But you also spoke about not having Islamophobia, anti-Semitism in our communities, and this is a huge step. You might not see the direct connection, but for the many students here, for the many people in your community, we feel that direct connection. So a call for a ceasefire and an immediate note on the community that this Islamophobia, this hatred is not acceptable, would make a change for so many. And it would validate the concerns of so many of us who are just trying to call for humanity and are being responded to with fear, with othering, and with hatred. Thank you so much.
Anyone else like to address City Council?
Thank you so much, Yassine, for your brave words. And also, I want to mention Mr. Who speak? I'm sorry. I'm sorry? Drew, yes. So I know you mentioned some of the names, like elected officials' name. I would encourage you to add all those state representatives, because all those state representatives, they passed a resolution in Harrisburg to send unconditional support to Israel. So please, when you mention all those elected officials, make sure you mention Bob Freeman, Steve Samuelson, Peter Schreier, and Michael Schultzberg, and all those state representatives. Thank you. That's all. You can comment.
Would you like to address
Thank
City
you.
Council?
May I have the spelling of your first and last name?
Yeah, Ari, A-R-I, and then that's first name, last name, I, S as in Sam, M as in Mary, A-I-L. And I'm also a Lafayette College student, as you can see from my rivalry shirt.
Thank you. You have 5 minutes.
Yes, thank you. Well, I'm also back again. I, once again, would like to talk about Palestine and how it relates to everyone here. As voters, as taxpayers, as students, as people who are in positions of power. I'm not going to talk for too long, but I do want to say that I'm hurt and disappointed as the outcome of the last time I was here, as I was very vulnerable, and I talked about my stories of growing up in a country during its civil war, where I was woken up by bombs. And I understand that it's really easy, if you have not had that experience before, to just say, that's an issue far away. That's an issue that we don't need to worry about. But once again, as was mentioned by Drew, by Yassine, we are directly funding this genocide with our taxpayer dollars. And I'm a new voter. Like, I'm excited to vote, and a lot of students at Lafayette are actually, like, half the people here are Lafayette students, and are very excited to vote, to have a say in democracy. And because we care about ending this genocide and liberating all people, we are going to make the decision to not vote for people who are continually, like, staying silent on it and funding it. And I, as somebody who, I was born here, but as I said last time, I grew up in a country facing the aftermath of its civil war, where we'd have airstrikes nearby. I'm fine, and I'm lucky to be here. And I can only imagine how scary it is for students like me who are refugees, who have had to flee, people here, and we have a big population in the Lehigh Valley of refugees. And I think to see that this is continuing to happen is just appalling, and for us, we're doing what we can. We're calling every day, we're calling our representatives, we're calling whoever we can. We're here speaking at City Council, we're being vulnerable. Like, I didn't have to tell you my story, but I'm here doing that. I'm being vulnerable in front of people I don't even know, people I'm a little, frankly, scared of. And you are in positions of power once again where you can set that precedent of liberation. And I don't know what me standing up here talking is gonna do, but I'm begging, once again, urging you all to not continue to let your constituents' taxpayer dollars fund this genocide, to call for a ceasefire as they did in Chicago, as they did in other cities around. It's not that hard. Like, it's really not that hard. Like, there are more difficult things, like dealing with gas leaks. But all you have to do is call for a ceasefire. You know, I don't have much more to say. Like, it's common sense to me. Thank you.
Anyone else like to address City Council? In that case, I'll entertain a motion. Anyone for City Council like to say anything?
Mayor,
Yes,
I'm sorry,
go ahead.
new business or
Yeah,
other business?
fine.
Mayor, one thing I'd like to do with approval is for next committee meeting, one thing I'd like to see if I can give to Councilman Ettinger is to discuss Davis Street. I met with, he left, Dave Hopkins today, Lewis, Chief of Police. We discussed it just briefly about bringing it to council. I don't know, Mayor, if anything can or should be done, but there's enough people complaining about it. If we could just look at it.
We've looked at it.
So
From St. Joseph's, from Madison Street to Berwick Street.
yeah. So the issue is, and maybe it's just my issue. Well, there's a couple other residents. I took Lewis with me about a week ago. We have one side parking, right? The old Tony store. I don't know what it was before that. I wasn't born.
It was Tony's all the time.
It was always Tony's. Okay, that store. It's a two-way. When you're driving on that street, I drive. I sent you a picture a while ago. I don't know if you remember. I don't have it anymore. I was with Lewis. There's barely room to open your door on either side for it to be two-way. We have school buses. Very dangerous, especially for our children who end up walking in the street because we have cars parked on the sidewalk. That was another part of our meeting today, and we're addressing that. I don't know if we have to keep parking just on one side. I don't know if it needs to go one way. I don't know if nothing should be done, but I'd like to bring it to committee to discuss it and see if there's a safer way we could address Davis Street.
We talked about it at the staff meeting, and you guys were gonna meet afterwards, and I didn't get a report back yet because I was busy, but.
Understood. It wasn't really, Mayor, anything to report to you. Kind of bring it to committee and we
We've
can
discussed
discuss it.
this at least 5 times in the last 6 months, and the person who's parking on the sidewalk is getting tickets, we limited parking to one side of the street, but it's as wide as every other street on South Side. I mean, we'll start making one-way streets, and we know one-way streets, the one thing that you know about one-way streets is it makes the speed faster. Because there's nobody else coming in the other direction, and cars just go faster on a one-way street. That is a proven traffic condition. But I'll gladly meet.
Well, Mr. Pinnabone, I would suggest you have a conversation with Mr. Hopkins, like a more detailed conversation.
We did today, once I left.
Oh, okay, you did.
Yeah, because it was
what-
brought up that he might have said in the past, we can't do it. He said he didn't say we can't do it. He just said for other reasons, it might not be the best
We
thing.
don't want to exasperate the problem. One way, Dave is the one who said about speeding. We'll take a look at it. I mean, the bigger problem we have is on Wood Avenue. I mean, not Wood Avenue, Wolf Avenue. Wolf Avenue by the courthouse, that is much narrower, and they are parking on the street all the time.
But the
on the sidewalk.
the difference though is one way, where Davis is two way.
But the speed is higher.
So when there's two cars coming, there's nothing you can do. You can't pull over because of the cars parked. So cars have to back out. They have to back down towards Wilkes-Barre and then kind of like go into Wilkes-Barre Street for a car to go by, which is very difficult for a school bus.
If we bring this, I would like to get some dimensions so that I at least know what we're talking about, because when you're saying there's no room,
Right.
and you're saying that it's the same width as other schools, I mean, we need to get some information as far as what the actual dimensions are, because I remember people when we were going to make 4th Street two ways. There was somebody said, well, you can't make 4th Street two ways because people won't be able to get down through there.
Right.
I said, come with me. We walked right out, and I said, look down the street and look to 4th Street south of Ferry.
Right.
And it's the same width as 4th Street north of Ferry.
Right.
And I said, it's two-way down there, it's two-way up here. So, I mean, it could be two-way
Yeah.
up here. So, I mean, we really need to get what those
Well, I
dimensions
didn't,
are.
I didn't bring any of that because if we
No,
go to
that's
committee,
right.
I'll
But
bring
I'm
it there.
saying it's committee.
Yeah. And I don't know what the dimensions are. I know that if I'm parked and Lewis was with me, if I stop in my lane, if I open up the right side door, I'm going to hit a parked car, and if I open up the left side door, I'm
Not
right
parked
above
on one
the.
side.
No, only on that side. But if I open up the other door, I have about 4 steps to the curb. You know what I mean? So I don't know the measurements, but if I open up my driver's side door, I got 4 steps to get to the curb. If I open up the passenger side door, I hit the parked cars. So it's just, I just wanted to look at it. I'm not saying there could be anything done. There might not be anything done, but I think it deserves a look just for safety reasons. I guess now saying that, maybe you should go to Roger. If it's a safety or is it over to
It
Jim?
could be either one.
Okay.
That's one that falls under both committees.
Roger, I'll flip you for it. Kenny Greek, give me your ankle. Lastly, Mayor, I mentioned this before I got sworn in, and I have to bring it up again after the planning meeting last week. I'm hoping we can go to committee, whatever committee it is. We need to look at a new comp plan. The comp plan from '08, I feel is just outdated, and it's gonna harm our neighborhoods more than help. I understand the need for it. The administration, council, the mayor, you guys did a great job bringing development into Easton, and I understand why the comp plan was made that way. But there's certain things that I think we need to pull back on, and the development is gonna hurt our neighborhoods. So I'd like to get that in the committee, and I'd like to begin working or taking the steps to work on a new comp plan before the expiration.
The comp plan is one thing, but the zoning is what really, we have a zoning ordinance change to come, like it limits everything west of Fifth Street to 3 stories. There's the one on Sixth Street that is 6 stories, and we do that by zoning. So you wanna look at the zoning changes we make. Stephen did it right before he left, and we have to bring that, we'll talk to Dwayne about that, but, we've made a lot of changes. We've extended the business and entertainment district downtown, but we've identified the neighborhoods that are down in the business district. Like, if you look at Spring Garden North to the bottom of College Avenue, that's really residential. Bushkill Street, Spring Garden Street, it's residential, it's not business.
Right.
So we've identified those areas as neighborhoods, so we limit the development there to 3 stories,
Right.
not 5 or 6.
I'm talking in particular, the proposed third smoke shop in less than a mile in residential neighborhood, and then that development, the monstrosity that was approved by planning, on Cole and Berwick. And it was because, well, this is the way we created the zoning to increase. We did this in the comp plan in '08, and we made these, concessions to attract building, but now we're at a point where we don't want that anymore, and we're getting things that the neighborhood doesn't want, and I don't think the neighborhood needs. But they're doing it in accordance with the comp plan and what we approve, so we don't have a leg to stand on to say no. So that's why, I think it's worth going over now for the neighborhoods, Southside, West Ward, and College Hill. What committee is that?
Planning and codes. Planning and codes. Ms. Rose.
I'll Thank you. Mayor, that's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Are you back for comments on the floor?
We just wrote some Valentines for the city council members. I wanted to give them to you all, but I didn't know the best way to give you the Valentines. Do I just put them here on the computer? Okay.
Oh, you can bring
You
them out.
can hand them up.
Yeah, bring them out.
Oh,
Bring them up.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Did you mean to give me two?
you.
Okay. Thank you. You only got the keyboard thing. How many did you get?
Before we leave, I do want to echo, everyone who spoke about Palestine and Israel. 28,000 people have been killed so far, and 65,000 are wounded. Nearly or over 50 cities across the United States have passed the resolutions. They now, they are not doing anything illegal. They now is in the purview of the cities. It's the purview of the local government. So I am planning to bring another resolution in next meeting if Mayor approve the agenda, because we do have a brand new council, and I would like to know what they stand on, and I definitely would like to give them an opportunity to make better decision.
Ms.
Thank
Sultana,
you.
you met with me several weeks ago on a Friday afternoon at 4 o'clock, and I said to you, if you came to, I would let you come and put it on the agenda for the Tuesday night committee meeting, and if there was somebody there that was second that motion, I would put it on the Wednesday night meeting. You never showed up for the Tuesday night committee meeting. It was your meeting. It was called for your meeting, and we would have canceled that
Mayor,
meeting.
I would definitely ask you to stop this. I don't want to, because you have been lying to media. I miss meeting. I don't do that. I don't do that. I don't do that. Please stop this.
You didn't come to
No,
that.
you need to stop this. I am talking about.
You don't have to yell at me. You're not my mother or my father, so please don't yell.
Neither you. So I am going to bring another resolution. I'm
bring
not
it,
gonna. No,
and if it
no,
gets
I will not
seconded, it'll
allow
get a-
you.
it'll
I will
vote.
not allow you to silence my voice.
Did I silence your voice?
Yes, because you are bringing stuff up that is not related to what I'm saying right now.
Relax.
You too. So I'm going to bring another
Relax.
resolution next committee next meeting to just to present to the new council to see what they stand for. So well, thank you so much. That's all, and appreciate for everybody showing up and
Motion to adjourn.
Motion?
Yep.
Is there a second? Motion and a second. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Aye.
Dr. Ruggles?
Aye.
Ms. Sultana?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mr. Ettinger?
Aye.
Mayor Panto?
Aye.
Mr. Pinnabone?
All right.